Welcome to another Epic Ethics story for ethical choices, part of the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative Elementary School program. As you listen to the story, consider the 4 awesome questions inspired by Rotary's 4-way test. Is it true? Is it fair? Will it build friendships and community? Will it be helpful to those involved? Stay with us after the story for some thought-provoking discussion questions. And now, Coyote brings fire to the people. A Shoshone tale. Long ago, before man had fire to cook food and keep warm, when the people saw winter moving near, they became fearful and unhappy. Many young and old villagers would die in the long, ice-bitter months of winter. Coyote, like the rest of the animals, had no need for fire. But one spring day, when he was passing a human village, the voices of women singing a song of sadness for the babies and the old ones who had died in the winter moaned like the west wind through a buffalo skull, prickling the hairs on Coyote's neck. "Feel how the sun is now warm on our backs," one of the men was saying. "Feel how it warms the earth and makes these stones hot to touch. If only we could have a small piece of the sun in our teepees during the winter." Coyote, overhearing this, felt sorry for the men and women. He also felt that there was something he could do to help them. He knew of a faraway mountaintop where the 3 fire beings lived. These beings were called Yellow Jackets and kept fire to themselves, guarding it carefully for fear that humans might somehow acquire it and become too strong. Coyote saw that he could do a good turn for man at the expense of these selfish fire beings. Coyote devised a plan to get the fire, but it would take the help and talent of every creature's unique gifts to make the plan successful. All the other animals agreed to help. So, Coyote climbed up to the top of the mountain where the Yellow Jacket sisters guarded the fire. As he came near, the beings leapt to their feet and gazed searchingly round their camp. Their eyes glinted like bloodstones, and their hands were clawed like the talons of a great black vulture.
"What's that? What's that I hear?"
hissed one of the beings.
"A thief! Skulking in the bushes!"
Screeched another. The third looked more closely and saw Coyote, but he had gone to the mountaintop on all 4s, so the being thought she saw only an ordinary coyote, slinking among the trees.
"It is no one. It's nothing,"
she cried. And the other 2 looked where she pointed, and also saw only a gray coyote. They sat down again by the fire and paid Coyote no more attention. Coyote waited through the day and watched as night fell, and 2 of the beings went off to the teepee to sleep. He watched as they changed over at certain times all the night long, until at last the dawn winds rose. Then the being on guard called,
"Sister! Sister, get up and watch the fire!"
And the being whose turn it was climbed slow and sleepy from her bed, saying,
"Yes, yes, I'm coming. Do not shout so."
But before she could come out of the teepee, Coyote lunged from the bushes and snatched up a glowing portion of fire and sprang away down the mountainside. Screaming, the fire beings flew after him. Swift as Coyote ran, they caught up with him, and one of them reached out a clutching hand. Her fingers touched only the tip of the tail, but the touch was enough to turn the hairs white. And coyote tail tips are white still. Coyote shouted and flung the fire away from him. But the other animals had gathered at the mountain's foot in case they were needed. Squirrel saw the fire falling and caught it, putting it on her back and fleeing away through the treetops. The fire scorched her back so painfully that her tail curled up and back, as squirrels' tails still do today. The fire beings then pursued Squirrel, who threw the fire to Chipmunk. Chattering with fear, the chipmunk stood still, as if rooted until the beings were almost upon her. Then, as she turned to run, one of the beings clawed at her, tearing down the length of her back and leaving 3 stripes that are to be seen on chipmunks' backs even today. Chipmunk threw the fire to Frog, and the beings turned towards him. One of the beings grasped his tail, but Frog gave a mighty leap and tore himself free, leaving his tail behind in the being's hand, which is why frogs have had no tails ever since. As the beings came after him again, Frog flung the fire onto Wood, and Wood swallowed it. The fire beings gathered round, but they did not know how to get the fire out of Wood. They promised it gifts, sang to it, and shouted at it. They twisted it and struck it and tore it with their knives, but Wood did not give up the fire. In the end, defeated, the beings went back to their mountaintop and left the people alone. But Coyote knew how to get fire out of wood, and he went to the village of men and showed them how. He showed them the trick of rubbing 2 dry sticks together, and the trick of spinning a sharpened stick in a hole made in another piece of wood. So women and men, babies and elders, were from then on warm and safe through the killing cold of winter. The end. Discussion questions. How did Coyote feel in the beginning of the story when he heard the people singing sad songs about the children and elders who died in winter? Tell about a time when you were like Coyote in the beginning of the story, and you saw someone who needed something and you wanted to help. How do you feel when you help people? Coyote needed the help of all of his friends. Tell about a time when you needed the help of many friends to accomplish something. Each of Coyote's friends were able to help in a special way because of their differences. In what ways are you special? This has been an Epic Ethics recording, generously sponsored by the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative. We'd also like to thank Colorado Rotary District 5450 for your service above self and support of peaceful schools. For more information about the Epic Ethics program, or to bring this program to your elementary school, contact us at www.epicethics.org.